Hello everyone, and welcome to Up and Running, Playing with Power MTG's Deck Tech series that helps you get up and running with a new deck as soon as possible. This series will teach you how to pilot the deck, main win cons, strengths and weaknesses, key card choices, mulligans, what to watch out for, and how to stop it if you're against it. Today's Up and Running is brought to you by TCGplayer.com, where you can find all of your cards online while still supporting local game stores. Dragon Shield for all of the best accessories to protect your decks, and through Patreon, where you get awesome benefits for your direct support. Today's deck is Food Chain Sliver. This deck is piloted by the 5-color legendary creature, the first Sliver. This deck seeks to combo out as quickly as possible by repeatedly casting its commander with the help of Food Chain. So, let's dive right in. This deck is a proactive deck, meaning it seeks to find its win cons as soon as possible while interacting with the stack and board when needed. It's common to win with this deck around turn 3 and even earlier on occasion. This deck's main strength is its ability to win early in the game. It is very consistent in winning anywhere between turns 3 and 5. Speed is the name of the game with this deck. Also, since you have access to all 5 of Magic's colors, you get to play the best cards available in the format. Some of the biggest weaknesses of this deck are its dependencies on the commander to win. If access to your commander is stopped somehow, you're going to have a tough time closing out your win. Your commander is also dead outside of the combo turn itself, so other commanders that can accrue card advantage can grind longer. The Food Chain combo itself also requires some setup as well. It requires Food Chain on the battlefield and very specific creatures in order to combo off. You will like this deck if you enjoy winning the game early, if you enjoy playing all the most powerful cards in each of the colors, and like winning with spells rather than in combat. Before we go any further, let's talk about our commander, the first Sliver. The first Sliver is a 5-color creature. It is a 7/7 legendary Sliver that costs 1 of each color, has Cascade, and reads, Sliver spells you cast have Cascade. At this point you might be thinking, are we playing Sliver Tribal? Well, not exactly. Let's talk about our main strategy. The main win condition for this deck is to get Food Chain onto the battlefield. Next, we get one of the 3 Cast from Exile creatures. We'll talk about those in just a moment. When combined, these cards allow you to cast your commander infinite times, where you then cascade through and cast your entire deck. Once this board position has been achieved, there are many ways to close out the game, including various Laboratory Maniac and Thassa's Oracle lines. Let's first talk about our namesake combo, Food Chain. Food Chain is a green enchantment that costs 2 generic and 1 green mana and reads, exile a creature you control, add X mana of any one color where X is 1 plus the exiled creature's converted mana cost. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. To go along with this are the creatures Eternal Scourge, Mist Hollow Griffin, and Squee the Immortal. The ability these creatures share is that they're all able to be cast from the exile zone. Here's how to execute the combo. First, exile one of these 3 creatures to Food Chain, and have Food Chain add the appropriate color to be able to cast the creature again. Next, cast that creature from exile with the mana Food Chain generated. You are left with 1 additional mana. Repeat this for infinite mana, filtering as needed. With this mana and Food Chain, repeatedly cast your commander, the first Sliver, and then exile it to Food Chain, putting it back into the command zone, and then cascade through your entire deck. From there, you can set up to win with one of the deck's win conditions. Cascade with the first Sliver until you hit your Laboratory Maniac or Jace. Next, cascade until you hit Demonic Consultation or Tainted Pact. Cast that and then exile your library. If you have Jace, uptick him to win. If you have Labman, make sure to grab a spell that lets you draw a card before exiling your library. Remember, Cascade lets you choose whether or not to cast the spell, so you can continue to recast your commander until you've found your win con. One of the best synergies in this deck involves Necropotence and the Forbidden Tutors. These include Demonic Consultation, Tainted Pact, and Plunge into Darkness. These cards exile tons of cards from your deck while also finding you cards that you need to close out the game. The perfect scenario would be to exile one of the Cast from Exile creatures with these cards. The Cast from Exile creatures are effectively free draws from these cards since they get put into the exile zone where they can later be cast while still getting you a card that progresses your game plan. So how do you pilot this deck? This deck wants to end the game very quickly and needs to have a game plan in its opening hand. You want to aggressively mulligan to a hand that has a clear path to victory or is one piece away from it. Cards like Necropotence and Plunge into Darkness pull a lot of weight because they allow you to look for so many cards while still getting one of the 3 Cast from Exile creatures into exile. Trying to combo off as fast as possible isn't always the best way to win depending on your pod. Sometimes you'll have to be patient and wait for the right moment to strike. A solid opening hand will consist of a couple of lands, a piece of fast mana or mana dork, a tutor, a card draw spell or card advantage engine, and a counterspell. Hands to mulligan away are the ones that don't do anything by themselves. Hands that consist of 3 lands and all fast mana aren't good because you don't have anything to do with the mana. Hands that have a lot of interaction are better, but not great because you aren't trying to control the game with this deck, you're trying to combo off first. In the early game, all sights should be focused on setting up to go off. A solid turn 1 play is to play a mana dork or having a piece of fast mana. You then want to cast cards like Demonic Tutor or Plunge into Darkness to help find a card to help you combo out. Your game plan is to set up your board position with mana dorks, fast mana, and a draw engine such as Sylvan Library or Dark Confidant, and then figure out a solid way to win the game. Sometimes you have a Tainted Pact in hand and need more information on whether or not to cast it to find Food Chain or try and tutor Thassa's Oracle. Sometimes you have multiple tutors and need to figure out what you can grab and when to lead to victory. Once in the mid game, you should be looking to execute your combo. Turns 3 to 5 is usually more than enough time to have decided which line you want to take with the deck. If you enter the late game, it's usually because someone stopped your combo or someone played a stacks piece that needed to be dealt with. Food Chain Sliver doesn't play the long game very well, but you can always start attacking people with a 7/7 commander if things become desperate. Now that you know the main components of the deck, let's quickly go over the rest. This deck runs plenty of acceleration in the form of mana dorks. Cards like Arbor Elf, Avacyn's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, Deathrite Shaman, Elves of Deep Shadow, Elvish Mystic, Finehorn Elves, and Llanowar Elves help us ramp. We run a few artifact ramp cards like Mana Crypt, Monk's Diamond, and Sol Ring. We also run Carpet of Flowers and Wild Growth for additional ramp. We have the best black tutors like Imperial Seal, Demonic Tutor, and Vampiric Tutor, as well as the best single mana tutors like Enlightened Tutor and Mystical Tutor. We have some tutors unique to this deck, including Extract and Manipulate Fate. These will help find our Cast from Exile creatures and put them into exile from our library. We have a suite of removal and interaction in the form of Veil of Summer, Abrupt Decay, Silence, Assassin's Trophy, Mistcast, which is great in combo decks, and Flusterstorm, among others. Our draw engines consist of Dark Confidant, Sylvan Library, and Necropotence. Our land suite includes a full suite of fetches, shocks, and duels, and rainbow lands. Basic lands aren't found in this deck because of the wide variety of colored mana we need to pay for. We need to run as many colorful lands as we can. So now that you know how the deck works, what should you watch out for? Also, if you are against the deck, what should be used to stop it? For the main combo of this deck, Food Chain, you must be able to cast your commander and the cards you cascade into. Cards like Thorn of Amethyst, Sphere of Resistance, Thalia Guardian of Thraben, Glow Rider, and Vryn Wingmare make it very difficult to execute this combo. An opposing Ghostly Pilferer doesn't prevent you from executing the combo, but it does allow the player controlling it to draw a large number of cards. This can give them interaction, which by itself is enough to warrant a piece of removal before you try and combo out. Cards like Torpor Orb, Hushwing Gryff, and Tocatli Honor Guard can make winning through Thassa's Oracle lines tricky. While Thassa's Oracle is the easiest of the 3 lab man effects to have to win with, these stacks pieces won't disrupt Jace or Lab Man. Stacks pieces that completely stop this deck include Drannith Magistrate, and also limit spells cast such as Rule of Law, Deafening Silence, Arcane Laboratory, Ethersworn Canoness, and Eidolon of Rhetoric. We highly recommend you check out the primer on this deck listed in the description below. We also recommend a number of gameplay videos to see it in action. Those links are also in the description. You can also check out the Discord channel in the description where you can discuss this deck further. A big thanks to the curators of this deck for piloting, testing, and creating the primer. What do you think about the deck? What deck would you like to see next? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider supporting us on Patreon. You'll receive all kinds of benefits for your direct support. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.